Something is stirring in Philadelphia. The air feels heavier, charged, like the calm right before a thunderstorm rolls over Lincoln Financial Field. You can almost hear it, the roar of the crowd, the echo of helmets colliding, and a team that refuses to back down from destiny. The Eagles are heading into a defining stretch of their season, and this Monday night against the Green Bay Packers isn't just another game under the lights. It's a statement game. A moment to prove that this roster, reshaped and reforged by Howie Roseman's relentless tinkering, isn't just built to compete, it's built to dominate. Because make no mistake, the moves Philadelphia has made in the past few weeks weren't just about plugging holes. They were about sending a message: the Eagles are loading up for another run. Let's start with one of the biggest names to land in Midnight Green, Jaelan Phillips. A player molded for chaos. A pass rusher with a motor that never quits. Before his injury in 2023, Phillips was a nightmare for quarterbacks, 6.5 sacks in just 8 games under Vic Fangio's system. Fangio didn't just unleash him, he weaponized him. On every snap, Phillips was told one thing: go hunt. And now, in Philadelphia, he's back with the same defensive architect who unlocked him. The plan is simple: use his power and versatility anywhere he can cause destruction. Whether he's crashing off the edge or cutting inside to collapse the pocket from the tackle spot, Phillips brings something this defense has needed: fear. For edge rushers, it's easier to find rhythm early. You're unleashed, told to pin your ears back and get after the quarterback. Corners, though, that's a different battlefield. The communication, the reads, the chemistry, it's a puzzle that takes time. That's where the next addition comes in, Michael Carter. Quietly, this might be one of the most underrated moves the Eagles made. Carter has played elite football in the slot, fast, physical, instinctive. Now, the Eagles are cross-training him at safety, a move that tells you just how much they value his football IQ. He's not just learning a new role, he's learning how to be the glue of the secondary. Then there's Jaire Alexander, once one of the league's most feared corners before injuries slowed him down. Maybe he's not quite the same player who earned All-Pro honors, but he brings something else this defense needs: experience. The kind that steadies a locker room. The kind that knows how to prepare for the big moments. Add that to a defensive line now featuring a rejuvenated Brandon Graham, returning once again to help lead a new generation of Eagles defenders, and you start to see the picture forming. This isn't a rebuild. It's a reload. Howie Roseman, the mastermind behind it all, made 9 trades since training camp. 9. That's not a GM tinkering, that's a chess player positioning every piece for a deep playoff run. He knows how fragile a season can be. He knows that injuries test every contender. And that's why he's doubled down on depth, versatility, and experience. The beauty of this Eagles roster isn't just in the names, it's in the mindset. These aren't players looking for comfort, they're fighters looking for redemption. Michael Carter, playing with a chip after being doubted. Jaelan Phillips, coming off a torn Achilles, out to prove he's not done yet. Jaire Alexander, hungry to remind the league who he was, and who he still can be. And Brandon Graham, the eternal Eagle, back to lead with grit and heart. That's what makes this team different. This locker room doesn't crumble under pressure, it hardens. It's what built the next man up culture that Philadelphia fans have come to love. Now, as they prepare for Monday night in Green Bay, there's a sense of unfinished business. The lights will be bright, the stage massive, but this team has been here before. They know the noise. They've lived through the heartbreak. And this time, they're ready to turn that heartbreak into hunger. This isn't just about winning a game, it's about sending a message to the entire NFC, and they're coming with everything they've got. Adoree Jackson has always been a puzzle, a player with flashes of brilliance and moments of hesitation. On paper, some of his numbers still command respect. When targeted, he allows less than a yard of separation over half the time, 52%, to be exact, the best rate in the league among players with at least 20 targets. It's a strange stat. one that tells you he can still stick to a receiver like glue, even if the eye test sometimes makes you question his intensity. That's what makes him such a difficult player to judge. There are stretches where he's right there, stride for stride, breaking up throws that would have been completions against anyone else. Then there are plays, like that goal line moment against the Giants, where his effort doesn't match the situation. In a city like Philadelphia, that kind of softness doesn't go unnoticed. The Eagles' recent roster moves have made their feelings clear. They've quietly shifted the future toward youth, hunger, and physicality. They like Khalil Ringo's potential. They traded for Michael Carter to strengthen the slot. They brought in Jair Alexander to stabilize the corner room and offer a voice of leadership. The writing, whether Jackson realizes it or not, is on the wall. Inside the facility, the front office is already playing roster chess. The return of veterans like Brandon Graham, the addition of Jalen Phillips, and the reintegration of Nolan Smith mean that tough decisions are coming. Patrick Johnson was already moved off the active roster. Others, players like Jackson, A.J. Dillon, or even a depth lineman like Matt Pryor, could be next. The Eagles' standard is ruthless: perform or be replaced. There's also the matter of Jair Campbell, one of the bright young surprises of the season. Early on, he was asked to line up at edge because of injuries, but that wasn't truly his game. Now, with new reinforcements, he can return to his natural position as an off-ball linebacker, where his instincts and sideline-to-sideline range shine. The only challenge? Snaps are suddenly harder to come by. Naker Dean has been exceptional, especially against the run, diagnosing plays in a heartbeat, filling gaps with controlled violence. Fangio now faces one of those problems coaches love and hate at the same time: how do you balance two ascending linebackers in a system that thrives on chemistry? Dean and Campbell both bring something unique: intelligence, motor, and an unteachable feel for the game. But Fangio must blend their skill sets without losing rhythm on the field. While the defense adjusts and settles into this new rotation, one of the biggest conversations outside the locker room revolves around the offense, and specifically, the heartbeat of it, Saquon Barkley. Some fans wondered if he was still worth the massive investment. But inside the building, there was never doubt. The front office tore up his deal and wrote a new one, not because they had to, but because they wanted to reward who he is: the leader, the voice, the work ethic, the quiet storm that fuels this team. For much of the early season, Barkley's production dipped, and the critics were quick to point fingers. But it was never about Barkley. It was about the trenches. The offensive line, battered, shuffled, searching for rhythm, wasn't giving him room to breathe. His yards before contact dropped by nearly 2 full yards compared to last season. No running back thrives under those conditions, no matter how talented. Then came Week 8 against the Giants, a familiar opponent, a familiar challenge. And it was there that Barkley reminded everyone who he is. Over 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and runs that felt like statements. It wasn't just the speed or the power, it was the defiance. Every cut, every burst through traffic looked like a message to the doubters: I'm still that guy. Since then, the old spark has returned, the one that makes you hold your breath when he takes a handoff, the one that forces defenses to play scared. His explosiveness in the passing game has quietly become another weapon in this evolving offense. Barkley's revival has changed the energy in Philadelphia. His fight mirrors the city's: battered but relentless, overlooked but never out. And that's the spirit of this Eagles team. Every roster move, every adjustment, every snap feels like part of a larger plan, one built not just on talent, but on resilience. They're not assembling a team of stars, they're building a team of believers. And as this season unfolds, it's becoming clear, belief might be their most dangerous weapon of all. The Giants game felt like a sigh of relief, not because it was perfect, but because it finally showed signs of correction. The offensive line looked steadier, the timing sharper, and Saquon Barkley ran like the ground itself had been waiting for him. The hope now is that this was more than a good night, that it was the beginning of a rhythm. Green Bay's defense has been stubborn against the run for most of the year, yet even they were gashed by Rico Dowdle and the Panthers. Somewhere in that tape lies a clue, a key to how the Eagles might break through again. If they can replicate that kind of physical control up front, Barkley won't just thrive, he'll take over the game. The fantasy numbers are just a bonus. The real goal is balance. The trade deadline has come and gone, so Howie Roseman's toolbox is limited now. No more big splashes, only fine-tuning. If there's one move that still makes sense, it might be adding a veteran safety like Justin Simmons. He's been one of Fangio's most trusted soldiers before, the kind of player who sees the game seconds before everyone else does. With young safeties like Andrew Mukuba and Sidney Brown still finding their footing, Simmons could bring that calm, stabilizing presence on the back end. If the front office looks elsewhere, maybe they turn toward the trenches. The interior offensive line has taken its share of hits, and someone like Brandon Scherf could be a steadying force if made available. But that's short-term thinking. The long-term chessboard tells another story, one about age, contracts, and the next generation. Dallas Goedert's future looms as one of the biggest questions. He's having a career year, blocking like a lineman, catching like a wide receiver, producing like a star. But in football, great seasons sometimes create tough decisions. Has his success priced him out of Philadelphia's long-term plans? If so, the team might quietly either draft for a younger, more durable tight end to carry the torch. The same could be said for the offensive line. Lane Johnson is still a warrior, but even warriors have an end. Howie Roseman has built his legacy on being a step ahead, drafting the heir before the legend fades. Maybe this offseason he looks for that next great right tackle, or for depth behind the guards. The Eagles always rebuild from the inside out. It's their creed. And though the cornerback room feels stocked for now, every GM knows that depth evaporates fast in the NFL. Another young defensive back, one who can grow behind veterans like Alexander and Carter, could be on the radar. Linebacker depth might also come into play, depending on how Nakobe Dean's future unfolds. And then, there's the wild card conversation that every fan hates to hear, the possibility of financial reset at wide receiver. No one's calling for it. No one wants to see A.J. Brown go. But front offices have those talks, not out of disloyalty, but survival. If the cap ever tightens, could Philadelphia look to the draft for another elite receiver on a rookie deal? It's unlikely, but not impossible. As for now, the NFC landscape feels like a battlefield waiting for a conqueror. On any given Sunday, any of the contenders can look unstoppable, or ordinary. The Lions roar one week and stumble the next. Green Bay flirts with greatness but never holds it long enough. Tampa Bay, led by a fiery Baker Mayfield, has flashes but too many cracks to sustain them. And yet, there's one team out west that feels different, Seattle. They've quietly built something dangerous. A top-5 defense that hits like a hammer. A creative offense that keeps finding ways to stretch defenses thin. Sam Darnold has been reborn in their system, and Jackson Smith-Njigba has turned into a revelation, leading the league in receiving yards while rookies like Torrey Horton flourish beside him. When they added Rashid Shaheed at the deadline, it wasn't just another trade. It was a message, they're going for it. Watching them under the lights feels eerily familiar, like watching the Eagles of a few years ago. The speed, the swagger, the unity. The way they dismantled Washington in primetime brought back flashes of Michael Vick's explosion on Monday Night Football years ago, when everything clicked and the world watched in disbelief. Still, for all Seattle's brilliance, for all Detroit's grit or Tampa's resilience, there's one truth that remains: when the Eagles are playing their best football, they are the most complete team in the NFC. Balanced, battle-tested, and built to win ugly when they have to. They've weathered chaos, injuries, and criticism, yet they remain standing, stronger for it. And as Monday night in Green Bay approaches, the question isn't who the biggest threat is. The question is whether anyone else in the NFC is ready for what Philadelphia is about to become.